a lot of professional speakers, so bear with me. All right. Well, first thing, I'm going to set up this video we're going to watch. It's going to kind of set the groundwork for what we'll discuss. But in the video, you're going to see a 97-year-old man and an 85-year-old man running a 100-meter race at the Senior Olympics. My boss, which I'll mention a little bit in my testimony, is a deacon at Second Baptist in Katy, and he's been my boss for the last 10 years. And you'll hear him in the video encouraging the men to run the race and keep moving. And that'll set the tone for what we'll talk about is us as men being encouragers, being encouragers to each other, encouragers to our family, encouragers to our friends, to keep on moving and keep sharing the Lord and share your testimony, to be vulnerable, like Jason said, be vulnerable. And I'll probably cry a couple times tonight. That's just it comes with the deal. So my Sunday school class that's sprinkled around here, they know. They see me cry almost every week. So Elmo, you can play the video.
The guy on the right is 97. The guy killing it is like 85. There was an 85-year-old, 100 meters, 97. Running hard. There you go. That's it. Keep going. Oh no! Let's go for the finish! Man. All right. That's it. Keep your feet. There's the finish line. All right. 97-year-old finishing 100 meters. Took about a minute. God bless him.
Go watch it again? No. All right. So, we're all running a race. Every one of us. Some of us a little bit faster than others. Sometimes we fall down. Sometimes we trip. Sometimes we're going to need somebody to be like that first young lady that walked over to him and just encouraged him, leaned over. You can do it. Get up. And then the next guy that comes along, when he's there at the finish line after he gets up and he's ready to quit, he still has another 20 feet to go. It's like, come on, you can do it. Get across that line. We got to do that for each other, man. We just have to. Because we can't do it alone. And we just need each other. We need to be those men of God that are going to be encouragers, that are going to be continuing to look for those opportunities to be an encourager, because sometimes we feel like we've fallen too far. We've made too many mistakes. We've done too much. All you men have probably heard from guys that you try to share the gospel with, and they're like, oh man, if I come to the church, the building's going to collapse. It's just not true. We're all worthy of redemption, everybody, every single person. And we've got to be the men that share our stories, that share our vulnerabilities with each other, and to just be there. And so I'm going to share my testimony. I'm going to share about a couple of encouragers that I've crossed paths with that have been there in a perfect time in my life. First, I'll start with two scriptures. Hebrews 12, verse 1 and 2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Amen. Galatians 5:7. You are running a good race. Who cut in on you to keep you from obeying the truth? Sometimes we're running the race and we fall down like that man did. And we might not get up for a while. We may stumble along for a bit. And when we notice that from other people, we need to be the ones that are there to encourage them and to share it. You know, the bumps and the bruises and the falls that we've had. Has anybody here never had a bump or a bruise or a fall in life? A tough few days, a tough few weeks, a tough few months, a season in life? We've all been there. We've all been there. Every single one of us. But we're all running that race. It's all laid out in front of us. Be an encourager. The other question I'll ask is, are you really racing? When I say racing, are you in it with the Lord? Are you sharing the gospel? Are you sharing what he's done in your life? That's how we get in the race. Otherwise, you're just on the sidelines. We've got to be in the race. We've got to be in the race. Share your journey in your race. Share where you're at. Even if it's in a bad spot. You may be in a dip. You know, you may be running cross country. You may be, going downhill for a little bit. But share that. Share, look, I'm struggling right now. Be vulnerable. And then even when you're on the hilltops and you're coming up there high, you're going to stumble at some point. You can't stay on the mountaintop forever. Share that as well. Be there. But like in the video, sometimes your shoelaces might take you and trip you, and you fall down, and eat some dirt. We had one of the young ladies, in our Sunday school class. She just literally ate it, and she went face first into the ground, and that's a struggle. Sometimes it happens figuratively, and sometimes it happens just physically. You will just fall and eat it because you're just in a spot maybe where you start to lose your balance, you start to lose your way a little bit, and you need extra help. But let people know that. Be vulnerable and say, hey, I need help. Because we're all going to be there at some point. My testimony, I was born in 1972. My dad was in the Marine Corps, and he was stationed at Portsmouth Naval Base. We lived in Norfolk, Virginia, my first 2 years of my life. In 1974, my dad got out of the Marine Corps and we moved back to Houston. They were high school sweethearts at MacArthur High School, Aldine. And the tough parts of my life that I remember started in 1981. My parents got divorced. And that's kind of where it all started. I mean, there was some tough things that happened in the household that I wish I wouldn't have seen and heard and witnessed as a young child, 9 years old. That led to me making a lot of bad choices in life as a teenager. Choosing, a lot of things that I should have done, and looking back, it's a wonder I'm still here. But we don't have time for all the stories of that, so that'll have to be on a side note. But in 1989, living with my mom, two little sisters. In the summers, I would spend a lot of time with one of my uncles, Uncle Jerry, and my uncle was a wild man, but I don't know, he had 8 kids from probably 3 different women, but I remember in the summertime, us going to church every single Sunday. And it was really, other than my grandmother, was the only person in my life that took me to church. And those memories are very strong. But in 1989, I was with my uncle and my cousins and aunt, and we were at church. And I felt the Holy Spirit during the service at the altar call, and came forward and gave my life to the Lord. That was in 1989. My Uncle Jerry was an encourager, but he let you fall first. He let you fall a few times, but he wasn't saying, just get up, come on, let's go. And it wasn't real sweet, it wasn't real kind, but he wanted you to learn a little bit along the way, to get a few bumps and bruises, but he was there. Half the time he was probably laughing, but he was there. And one funny story, when I was probably about 12 years old with my uncle in the summers, it's a wonder that anybody let any of their kids go hang out with him in the summertime, but he would take us on road trips and take us places, and I was playing around I was probably 10 years old. I wasn't a great swimmer when this was happening, and I don't know exactly how old it was, 10, 11 years old. And I kept going around the deep end, running around the pool. And he said, quit going around the deep end, you can't swim that good. I kept doing it, I kept doing it, I kept doing it. And he went over there and he just pushed me in. He said, well, you gonna learn how to swim now? And I remember sinking to the bottom. I remember coming up, just paddling away, trying to get to the surface. But he was there. He was watching. I'm pretty sure he would have jumped in if he needed to. But I made it. I got some air going, and he pulled me out, and I think he slapped me upside the head and said, "Told you to stay away from the deep end. You know, you can't swim." But after I gave my life to the Lord in '89. Before that, I was very reckless. After that, I was a little less reckless. I won't say that I completely changed, but I did start making a lot better choices, and quit hanging around with some of the people I was hanging around with. And in 1991, I graduated high school, but before that, in January of 91, Desert Storm started, and I saw the news stories and things going on in the world, and I went to the Army recruiter and was watching all the videos and talking to the recruiter, and saw the guys jumping out of helicopters and all that, and knew the war was going on, and I enlisted in the U.S. Army as a light infantryman. And in November of '91, I went to boot camp. In March of '92, I was stationed in Hawaii, 25th Infantry Division. Somewhere shortly after that, my high school girlfriend, Emily, which is my wife now, got pregnant. Not sure how that happened, but she got pregnant. And she was 17 years old. At this point, I was 19. 19 years old, 17 years old. And I remember being in formation to get ready to go on a run, 6 o'clock in the morning, and the phone rings from the duty sergeant, and he yells at me, "Come get the phone." And I answer the phone, and she's like, "Chris, changed after that. Pregnant. And, so we got the wedding done, and I flew home and brought her back to Hawaii with me. She finished high school, with me in Hawaii. At this point, you know, it's like 20 and 18, and my son Christopher is born. He's now 32 years old. Daughter's 28, Kara, with my son-in-law Tyler over here sitting there. We got a grandbaby, Eve, that's 2 years old, and another one on the way. So it's a beautiful thing. But 1995, January, I got out of active duty, and during this time when we first got married, we got into church, my wife and I. We got into church. We made a commitment as a family that we were going to go to church and follow the Lord. And so that become a thing where we're going to church every Sunday. I wouldn't say early on we were really involved a lot. We were just going to church. And that's a plug for if you're not involved in a ministry at church, get involved. There's tons of opportunities for you to get involved, whether you're greeting or you're working the parking lot, or security, or you name it. If you can sing, sing. If you can play guitar, do it. There's plenty of opportunities. We need nursery workers too, and elementary teachers and all of that stuff. So if you're not involved, get involved, because it makes a huge difference. Not just for the church, for yourself. I mean, because that's something that keeps you locked in to the church, gives you a purpose of like, oh man, I got to be there because other people are counting on me. And we need to be those types of people anyway, that when people need help, we step up. So 93, my son was born. 95, because we got out of the military and came home. We lived in Spring for a little while, and I was just stumbling along trying to find a job that would support my wife and son. And I was doing okay, but it just I was working at Dr. Pepper as a merchandiser, filling up the shelves and doing all that kind of stuff. And then got promoted to an account manager in a really short amount of time. And I asked my boss, I said, well, what's the next step? He said, well, I've been here 20 years, so there's not a next step for you, just where you're at. And so I quit soon after that, and we moved to Nacogdoches, and I went to college. That was in 96. 99, I got my degree. And in 2000, we moved to Pueblo, Colorado. And that was my first job offer that I had. It was with a recruiting company. And was from a relationship. The next job I was able to get in the pharmaceutical industry, which is where I'm still working now, was from someone that I met in Sunday school. Relationships that I had in Sunday school in Nacogdoches. And so that connection helped me get a job in Pueblo. And so that was with the company, the pharmaceutical company, Merck. And that was in March of 2001. A big moment happened while I was in Pueblo, in our church, Majestic Baptist Church. They're actually a Southern Baptist church. Pastor Scott Bailey, he's still a pastor there. He's been there for, 25 years, 30 years. And, but Scott Bailey was a major encourager. In a time that I didn't really know I needed that, but he did. And what he did was every 6 months or so, he would pick 4 guys out of the church, and he would do a Saturday morning Bible study just with those 4 men. And he just poured into their life. Well, he picked me. The problem was, it was Saturday morning really early, and the people that know me in this room know I'm not a morning person. You're like, if you're having something at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm struggling. But that's what he did. And I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. And the blessings that I got from that time, and it was absolutely amazing. And But he noticed something in me that I didn't notice in me. And he wanted to spend time kind of chiseling away. And to this day, I'm super grateful of the time that he spent with me. Because that was like an accelerator to my relationship with the Lord. And it was really, really big. Soon after that, when we finished that study, I got a promotion with my company, and they moved us to Corpus Christi. And so I was trying to work our way back home, back to Houston along the way. So it was like, okay, Corpus is getting there. Well, from Pueblo, going out to Corpus, and if I would have had my way, I would have stayed in Colorado, but the wife won that argument. She wanted to be closer to home and family and everything. So, but we became very involved in our church when we moved to Corpus. It was another step. Emily and I started teaching 4th and 5th grade. We did that for probably at least 5 years. Every single Sunday, it was, get there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and leave until afternoon sometime. And that was just the deal, every single Sunday. 2008 to 2011, I took a job with Boston Scientific as a pacemaker rep, going into surgery and doing all that kind of that stuff, implanting defibrillators and all that. Some of you guys may have a pacemaker or defibrillator in here, I don't know, but we go into surgery, and I was on call every single day for 3 years, no days off. I didn't have one day off the entire time. And so I got pretty burnt out. I was pretty, we'd go to the movies, me and Emily tried to go to the movies and got called out of the movies. Some patient in the ER, and it was rough. And I decided at that point that my priorities were kind of upside down. I needed to choose my family over the money, and because you don't get that time back. And my kids were still impressionable and small, and you don't get the time back. And so I quit. And this was a job that when I first started that job, my trainer walked down the hallway. We're getting ready to go do our first implant. And she's walking down the hallway, and she says, "Welcome to the big leagues." And I was like, well, this lady just, But it was a job that it's hard to get, and people see it as a glamorous job. And but family comes first. So if you're spending too much time at work, there's a note. You don't get that time back. So I left Boston Scientific, and my old company, Merck, through some old bosses, in 2011, we moved to Houston, and we moved to Mont Belvieu, and started here at Old River back then. And Derek Polk, right over there, my buddy Derek, purple shirt over there. Derek was my first counterpart when we moved here. He was at Merck. We were at Merck together for many years. Derek's an encourager. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too.
Oh, man. Didn't know I was going to cry this much, but 2014, though, I got an opportunity to go work for Amgen. It's a biotech company, and so I left Merck, and Greg Nunn, the other encourager that you heard on that video, the one that was yelling, "You can do it, go, get up," he's a major encourager, and he's one that just keeps on, and he'll share the word with you at work. Even to the point that 50,000 employee company now, we've got teleconferences and webcasts that we're doing that are sharing testimonies on the company line. And it's a very liberal company that's based out of California. Our national meeting a couple weeks ago in Orlando, we had a prayer meeting. We had a lot of people turn up to pray and just continue to pour into each other and share the word at work, and to be a light in a dark, dark world. That we have to continue to do that, man. I'm still with that company for probably the main reason is he's still my manager, and because of his encouragement and his support of family and support of church and things that I have going on. It's he's always right there saying, "You go, do what you need to do," and so shortly after getting here at ORBC, probably the first part of 2012, this guy right here, Ronnie, another encourager in my life, would see me and my wife a lot of times scurrying in late to church, and trying to find a back row, jump in that back row Baptist thing and sit down. And Ronnie witnessed that, and he's like, I know his wheels were turning. And I remember him coming to us one Sunday, and he said, "Hey, I want to have you all greeting at the front door." And then he's probably trying to get us there on time, now you gotta get there early. You gotta get there 5 minutes early at least, so you can be there and standing at the door when the doors come open. But Ronnie Webb is that encourager. Man. Yeah. But we were there at the front doors for many, many, many years. And that's how I developed relationships in the church. It's 'cause, man, you get to see everybody coming through, and you get to shake everybody's hands. You get to talk to them and get to know people. And a bunch of you are here in this room that many years ago when I first started. Mr. Eugene, could always, have a handshake from him, and just so many men that have encouraged me here at ORBC. And one of the men that would come through the front doors was John Burke. And he would always give me a hug. And, if I hadn't shaved my head that day, he would rub back here, and he would feel the stubble back there, and he'd say, "Boy, you a hippie." And I was like, "Well, I guess I need a shave," And so he kept, trying to invite me to a Sunday school class. And in 2019, we joined the Sunday school class. That again took it to another level. It's like a little more, stuff going on. And soon as I joined the class, not long after, John and Richard Whitaker, some of y'all I know Richard, they were encouraging me. They were saying, "Hey, you need to be helping us teach." I'm like, "Y'all are out of your mind. I ain't teaching nothing." I said, "I can't get up in front of people. I don't know the word well enough. I can't do this, I can't do that." I'm making all the excuses in the world about why I couldn't do it. But God had another plan. I said no, I don't know how many times. And he kept encouraging, and Richard too. They both were just like, "Oh, you'll be fine, you'll be great." And I was like, no. And so finally I did start, I think it was 2020, late in the year, that I started subbing a little bit, like every 6 weeks or something. I would do if Richard or John wasn't teaching. And started subbing out. March 15th, 2021, John Burke passed away. Another rough moment. I remember after his service that we had here at the church, Sunday school class, brought me up to the front of the church over in the corner of the sanctuary and deemed me the new Sunday school teacher. I'm like, really? No, this can't be it. This can't be how it goes. But they all looked at me and they believed in me. And they encouraged me. I had to trust God at that point because I was like, you know, you doubt yourself. You say, man, I can't do this. I'm ready to run for the door. Some Sundays I'm still ready to run for the door. I tell them, I said, I'm close to quitting almost every Sunday with that ragtag bunch. No, I love my Sunday school class, and we have a wonderful community, and it's another plug. If you're not in a Sunday school class, get in a Sunday school class. You've got to be in a Sunday school class. Find one. And if you're not sure which one, visit one until you find the one you like. But be in one way or the other. Make it happen. November 22nd, 2021. November 22nd. Let me give a quick thing on this. This had to be a two-part series if I'm going to go deep on this part. But I had been very interested in ancestry my entire life. As far as I can remember, in college, I was going to the library, the genealogy library that they had there in East Texas, because I thought, my dad's family was from East Texas, Lufkin, all that area. So I was like, man, they're gonna have a lot of records I can pull, and I can find, birth certificates and all that kind of stuff. And so in my free time, when I wasn't working or going to school full time and having a family at home, at this point I had both kids. I tried to squeeze in a few hours at the genealogy library, and I didn't really know why. I just thought I was interested in it. So I started going down a trail of thinking that my sister, my youngest baby sister, had a different dad. And so I tried to figure it all out through the Ancestry app, and I sent my DNA in, and my sister had hers in. And my sister was showing up as a close relative, but not a sibling. So then I just started saying, I don't know what's going on. So I asked my other sister if she would do it. She was like, leave me out of it. I don't want anything to do with it, But I finally convinced her to go ahead and send hers in as well. And when hers got sent in, she called me and she said, because she'd already warned me. She said, well, what if it's you? I'm like, it's not me. I think it's Stacy. And but I said, I need your DNA to confirm what I think. And she's like, oh, whatever. So she called me when she got hers in, and she said, Dad's on here. He's already submitted his DNA, and he's showed up as my father. Problem was, I wasn't on there, except for as a half-sibling. So I wasn't connected to my dad. And so that started a chain of events where I had to talk to my mom, I had to talk to my dad. My mom didn't know, my dad didn't know. I was the one that had to break the news to the whole family that little old me got a different dad out there. And that happened on November 22nd, 2021. From a message from a first cousin that I had been waiting on for 3 years to answer a message on the Ancestry app. And when he answered, he gave me the information that I needed to finish putting the puzzle together. And the crazy thing about how God works in things like this is my first cousin was my best friend from high school's best friend in college. So the whole time, God had been lining this thing up. Were people that were really, really close to me, to a point where I was telling my friend this story, and I said, hey, do you know a guy by this, or a girl by this name? And he said, well, yeah. He's like, that guy was my best friend in my fraternity at A&M. And I'm like, what? He's like, I can call him right now. So within an hour, I'm on the phone with my first cousin and my biological uncle, the brother of my biological father. I mean, it happened quick. A lot of stuff coming at me quickly. And a lot of emotion, a lot of things that you start to question, like your whole entire life. Like, what's the plan in this, God? Talk about stumbling and having a face plant. That's kind of what I felt like. Is, oh man, you know, what's going to happen here? But I connected with my first cousin on a level that I never could have imagined. God knew. First day that we met at Hollywood Cemetery over in the Heights. He said our grandparents are buried there. He said, you want to meet me there and see their graves? And I'm like, absolutely, I do. So I met him after work one day. It's a funny story, but it shows how God works. We're sitting on the grave of our grandparents, and he's telling me stories about the grandparents. A lot of good stories, aunts and uncles and family, and how they used to all to get together. And he's telling me he had ankle surgery, and he lifted up his pant leg, and he showed me this scar that's all the way down the side of his ankle. And he's like, it even goes under my foot. And so he pulls his shoe and his sock off, and he puts his foot on the grave in the grass. And I'm sitting there next to him, and his foot is the ugliest foot I've ever seen in my life. I was like, man, you got the ugliest feet I've ever seen. Ever in my life. I mean, ugly. And I said, but that's weird because they look just like mine. So I pulled my sock and shoe off. We put our feet next to each other. I mean, you could have chopped our feet off and swapped them out, and nobody would have known. But we had both had our bare feet on the graves of our grandparents. And then it got weird, really weird, because then we started hugging and praying and we were crying. I said, man, if somebody drives by and sees us out here, I don't know what the whole thing's going on. One shoe off, one sock off, hugging, kissing, not kissing, crying, you know, all this stuff. And we should probably look like we were kissing because we were just like, boo-hoo, you know, just boo-hooing. And he went through a rough patch in his life right after this all happened. And the statement that he made to me, he said, you're the best thing that's ever happened in my life other than my life and my kids. So God had a plan. And I don't know how that plan is going to end up, because my biological father still to this day does not want to meet me. He has no desire at all. But, you know, a lot of the other family I've met, some of them were at my ordination when I got ordained here as a deacon in 2022, in the summer 2022. My biological uncle, he said, I'm going to be there. He had COVID when he came. And he's 75 years old. He said, that's important. I'm going to be there. And he was in the back of the church with a mask on, standing in the corner, so he could be there for my ordainment. And so the family is a godly family. My dad just happens to be, my biological dad just happens to be, you know, Vietnam vet that's had a lot of struggles from Vietnam. His job in the Marine Corps, I just found out, was the guy that collected all the bodies and put them in files and tagged the toes and did all that. So he wasn't the same man. once he came back from Vietnam, my family has told me that the same guy that left wasn't the same guy that came home. And so he's still struggling. So, still praying for that situation to work itself out. And God has a plan. And you just have to trust in God's plan. That's the other thing I wanted to say is sometimes the road gets bumpy. Sometimes things happen. But God still has a plan. And sometimes we can't see what's on the other end of that problem. But I have seen in my life that no matter what happens, there is something good that'll come out of it. There is something good in every single thing that's happened in my life that's been a tragedy. There has been something good come of it. But we can't focus on the bad. We got to focus on what the good is and what God has us to learn through those situations. It's that endurance for that race, right? It's what we're building up to continue to run that race. So taking it full circle, our Sunday school class is just absolutely blowing up. It's just amazing family, amazing group of people. I'm doing some stuff with the security team. We always need help, guys. With things in the church. If you're not serving, step up and serve. Full circle moment, my son-in-law, my daughter, my granddaughter, and soon to be grandson, closing on their house here in Mont Bellevue next week. So we got another family here at ORBC, and to have the grandkids and daughter and son-in-law close by, it's been amazing. They've been living with us for about 10 weeks, and my son-in-law, he's really good at eating all the leftovers. He can peel some leftovers. So if y'all got leftovers, let me know. I'll eat them for you. He can kill some leftovers. We haven't had any leftovers since he's been there. It's been good. I was like, that's awesome. Because I'm not one for leftovers. I'm not big on leftovers. Certain things I'll do, but not big on leftovers. But Tyler is. The other thing I'll say, in December, I was kind of in a little bit of a rut, with my reading time and my studying time. I study for the lesson, but I got to a point where it was like, all right, well, I'm going to study for the lesson, a few days for the week, so that should be good, and it's not. It's just not good enough. And so back in December, I started this journal. And the first page of my journal is right here, and then I've done it every night since then. So we're going on almost 6 months, I guess, of every single night, journaling 3 or 4 scriptures, and then doing some extra reading on it, and it has been amazing, guys. Because God just reveals things to you when you're in His Word. That you don't get anywhere else. You got to get in the Word. You got to. And but it's a progression in life from the day that I gave my life to the Lord in 1989, and bumps along the way. And some have been more than bumps. They've been some craters you fall into, and then you need somebody to reach down and pick you up and pull you out of it. And we got to be that for each other. We got to. You don't know who is listening, who's watching, and who's getting, the word that's heard, because we may think, oh, well, we're not being useful in whatever we're saying to somebody, but God has a plan in all of those things. So when you feel like you don't know what you're going to say when you're sharing the gospel, God does. Just open your mouth and say something. Because He'll give you the words to speak. And even if you feel like you're stumbling over your words, they're going to be words. They're going to be the right words. Just continue to do it. And that's what we're not doing. That's what a lot of us don't do. And I missed more shots than I should. But we still have opportunities. And the last plug I'll give, to Jason and Jeff, they started giving out the little Jesuses last year at work and all these other places. And so I was usually giving out wristbands. I order a bunch of the Bible verse bands. And so if I'd see people in the hospital struggling, even if it's patients or people crying or something going on, or you just sometimes feel like you can tell someone is not having a good day. And it's approaching that person and saying, how you doing? And sometimes, yikes. That sometimes can be a tough question because you ask that and then floodgates open. You're like, oh boy, here we go. But that's what we're here for, is to encourage people. I was walking outside just now, and I was just trying to pace a little bit, and I was getting nervous. I was like, oh man, who do I run into? Miss Linda Thompson. She said, hey, let me pray for you.
Amen.
There you go. Boom. And she prayed over me out there, right outside the parking lot. You gotta be encouragers. You gotta be available. You gotta just look for those opportunities to reach out to someone else that needs it. No matter how old you are, no matter how slow you run, or how fast you run, there's always somebody faster. Keep running. We got a race to run. We got people that need to hear from us as godly men. You profess to love the Lord. You profess to have Him as Lord of your life. And you don't share it. Got a question how much you love Him. You got to share it. If He's doing great things in your life, or even if you're struggling, talk to somebody about it. We all have amazing things that have happened in our life that will bless someone else. Or things that aren't so amazing. Ask somebody to share their testimony. You share your testimony with them. Because that even those scars that you built up, those skinned knees from falling down on the track, are going to resonate with somebody else. They're going to be like, oh, I have that same scar. You would be amazed how many people that I have met that have the same scars that I have. They've been through the same stuff. And for the longest time, I thought I was the only one dealing with that. Even when we talk about the situation with my biological father, well, not long after that, I meet Rhonda Hernandez. And she tells me her story, and it's a similar story. And I meet other people in the church that are having some of the same things happen. And that's just the way God works. But guess what? You don't find out. You don't find out those things if you're not sharing your story. You've got to share. You've got to open up your mouth and talk and be vulnerable. Thank you guys for letting me. I'm going to close this in prayer, and thank y'all so much again. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for what you've done in my life. You're the author, you're the creator. You lay out the road for us, Lord, and just continue to strengthen us. Give us the words to speak. Give us the attitude of an encourager. Give us the attitude of a supporter, of someone that's going to be there when times get tough and be there also when the times are good. But to just be there for each other as well, as men, in the community, in the church, to just stand arm in arm, to be there to help each other. Because this life is hard, Lord. This life is hard. There's so many blessings in it, Lord, and we're just so thankful for the race that we continue to be able to run until you call us home, Lord. Continue to give us that strength, your strength, to run the race, and that we run it for you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.